Tonight is exactly a week since the Amsterdam pogrom, the what the perpetrators called their Jew hunt, and where they attacked Maccabi Tel Aviv fans in Amsterdam because they were visibly Jewish, as the phrase goes. Tomorrow morning will be a week since the pogrom deniers, justifiers, and celebrators started telling us how it both didn't happen and was a good thing that it happened, and how great it is, and how this should be done elsewhere. Um, yeah, interestingly, while people like Owen Jones are still creating content telling us that what really happened was stuff that they can't show us any footage of, and what we can see footage of is not mentioned. What they're curiously not talking about at all is the fact that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans left, even those many of, I'm guessing most of those who plan to stay in Amsterdam for the weekend, uh, probably left before the weekend in some of the rescue flights. If not, they left anyway. Presumably there are still Jews in Amsterdam, but yeah, Maccabi fans are no longer there, and yet the pro-Palestinian so-called community is still doing what they do there, what they do elsewhere, what the Palestinians themselves do, commit violence, against innocent civilians, against police, against a tram. Um, yeah, so yesterday there was another protest in Amsterdam where pro-Palestinian supporters fought with the police. A couple days ago, we saw the attack on the tram, and yeah, we are still to hear an explanation from those who say that where there is violence against Jews, it is the Jews' fault. How this is happening in the absence of Jews. Of course, historically, it's not unusual. It's actually always the case that when Jews are attacked, somebody has an explanation for why it was right. This was true of Kristallnacht. This was true of the Holocaust. You know, there were those, and there are still those, as we'll see later on today, who justify that. So today we're going to talk about what's been happening this past week, what we can expect considering the response of the authorities, the media, and so on. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Daniel, your thoughts on what we've seen since the pogrom.
Yeah, I mean, there have been justifications for what has happened on that night, pretty much since then, and people are still making them. You mentioned, we'll talk about Dan Bilzerian on TRS, and he has been spreading the same sort of, yeah, basically misinformation. There's no other way to call it. Basically, the or rather the misinformation justification for what's been doing. The Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, they destroyed flags, they did some other bad stuff also. That it's not, we don't want to deny that, but using that and using that week on that, now all these protests, basically what has happened is that Netherlands, basically, even I believe even before the actual match, have basically canceled one of the protests that was supposed to happen around the same time. That was supposed to happen because the match was being played. The pro-Palestinian protesters planned to protest the football match. The protest was supposed to take place just, I think, few blocks down the road from the stadium. So it was set up specifically for that. So the Dutch authorities basically canceled it, and since after that, the protests, or the basically riots, were still happening, started happening stronger. So basically, the Dutch authorities have put restrictions on the so-called the right to protest. Apparently, the that order is ending. I think ended today, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see where it goes from there. And we might play some videos. We'll also play some videos from some of the other cities. But yeah, it's recalled. How do you wanna like still justify it? You wanna say, well, why are they protesting right now? Well, it's because the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans started it, last week, so that gives you justification to basically do it in perpetuity almost. Um, Another just thing, more of a funny thing. Basically, Dutch King has also commented on this situation, basically saying, it, he's sad, it affects him deeply that this is happening. Whenever I see that, I'm always reminded that there are actually different monarchies besides the United Kingdom that are still in Europe, which is always interesting to hear about. But yeah, this whole situation is just crazy.
Yeah. So Nastasia says here in the chat, riots in Paris last night, a combination of Palestinian and all three Maghreb flags, plenty of Antifa banners, but French police and army don't mess around. Yeah, I will see about that. So yeah, this was some event in Paris where Smotrich, Israel's finance minister, was supposed to be, ended up not being, but they somehow there's an Israel association, then these savages will come out, and there's an Israel association tonight because the Israel national football team is playing in Paris against France. Now, uh, national team typically don't have, at least not Israel, don't have the kind of traveling fans that you have with club football. Um, Generally, so I don't think if there were no issues, there would be more than a few hundreds, but I think there were fewer than that, though some of the Jewish community might come out. And yeah, the French authorities restricted the number of people who can attend the match to 20,000. This is an 80,000 seater stadium. Uh,
I
and
read 30,000.
Oh, okay, 30,000. And yeah, it's now look, I've said before as a traveling football fan for many years, long before October 7th, there is hardly ever, certainly not in Western Europe, there's no match where you go and there are no protests when the Jews arrive. So this is a regular thing. But of course, it's now a much bigger thing. And what happened in Amsterdam, and I'm not talking just about the pogrom, I'm talking about the lack of response from authorities and the blaming of the victims of the pogrom for it happening has absolutely inspired others. So do you want to show some scenes from Amsterdam from last night? We're going to stick to Amsterdam and then talk about some other places. I really, yeah, we can cut it here. I really think this says everything about the state of the culture, that short clip, in a sense, because you see these savages dressed as terrorists, like proudly, hiding their face, having that the Yasser Arafat scarf, um, uh, waving the flag of what's called the Palestinian flag is as as much a symbol, if not more of a symbol of the desire to exterminate the Jews than the swastika. The swastika was the symbol of the Nazis. The Nazis wanted to exterminate the Jews and did more in that regard than the Palestinians so far. They also, had other policies like free healthcare, animal rights, conquer Europe, all that crap. So that's what the swastika symbolizes. The Palestinian movement has no goal other than exterminating the Jews. That's all it's ever been about. And when you wave that flag, that is what you are, that is the view you are expressing. But why it symbolizes the culture in the West today is the fact that they're chanting shame on you to the cops who are enforcing the law, and making it not so convenient for the people who want to exterminate the Jews to go ahead with it. So yeah, it and the shame on you chants, you're not going to see anybody reporting on this and saying, how are these people taking the moral high ground? You don't see that because, some people say, yeah, this is the right thing to do. Others will say, well, this is not the right way to fight the very bad things that Israel does. But that is the Overton window when it comes to Jews. Yes, they're bad, but maybe we shouldn't, but probably we should do the kinds of things that were done in Amsterdam, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, this is brought in by the Western sort of rejection of ideas, and by the basically the difference between the ideas that are being preached, or the sort of the standard that is being put forward, and the actual reality on the ground. I've read somewhere, we'll also go to Paris if we have time, but I've read somewhere some reporter was asking, why are you guys like protesting, it's just a football match, why are you protesting a football match? They've said, well, Russia and Belarus, the national teams, are banned from playing, and those are, they've committed war crimes. Why is Israel not? Doesn't the ICJ say that there is a plausible case for genocide? The case is going through. Isn't there a possible warrant for arrest for Netanyahu and potentially Gallant? So why is there two different standards? And they are right, because yeah, the Western, ICJ, they have given up on actually looking at, okay, is Israel actually, is what Israel is doing right, or is it wrong? No, they've put Israel in the same case as Russia and Belarus and North Korea. So of course they have these beliefs right now. And then when it comes to actually like enforcing the law, they on the last week when the Amsterdam pogrom happened, police was nowhere to be found for some time. They knew something was going to happen ahead of time. They did, they canceled the Palestinian protest, but they didn't ensure security of the people coming in when they knew there would be problems, because they canceled it. So they had other information that there's going to be something happening. Yet, the Western countries are holding basically these two ideas that, yeah, okay, yes, we recognize Israel is a genocidal state, but somehow it's okay, for their teams to participate. Like, trying to hold these two ideas is not possible, and protesters like this will make you choose. And I'm worried where the choice will gonna go. Because
Yeah.
yeah, the Jews are actually afraid of, like, going out on the streets. Something just quickly, something I think Alex said earlier, that basically Jews should be more openly Jewish on the streets. You shouldn't be afraid to, like, just be to wear a yarmulke, or have like I have a little Israeli flag and I'm planning to go to London. I'm thinking twice about, like, do I really want to risk that? Like, this shouldn't be the case.
It shouldn't be the case, and you absolutely shouldn't risk that because you will get attacked, and that's the reality, on the ground today, and that's what we're dealing with, and that's what we should argue against and demand that the authorities completely reverse course on this, and of course if they don't, people will, take matters of defense into their own hands, and will be right to do so. But you bring up the ICJ and all these international bodies that Israel going to them and saying we'll argue against this. It's like a woman walking down the street in London, with her hair not covered, and then going to one of these Islamic communities and agreeing to be tried under Sharia law for that. Why would you do it? You know what these bodies are for. You know that they're going to be against you one way or the other. And the very argument is not a legitimate argument. Yes, there is an attempt at genocide going on by the Palestinians. They say it, they do it however much they can. They do it with other Iranian proxies, and Iran themselves keep saying that they want to exterminate the Jews. They want to wipe Israel off the map. they keep acting on it. So yeah, Israel shouldn't legitimize this. And by the way, when yeah, the idea of kicking Israel out of FIFA or UEFA comes up, and eventually it'll happen. Israel, instead of saying, how are you really allowing, Palestine as a national team, not to mention others, and discussing while you ban Russia, because that is where it's relevant, not just because they're allies, but because they are fighting, the same war essentially. Um, Right. A few other things I wanted to address I'll get to in a bit, but let me go to the super chats. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, I might add Netherlands to my list of places not to visit. I don't think I would do that, in part because it's a beautiful country, and it's even in terms of understanding the problem when it comes to the rise of Islam. I think it's one of the better countries in Europe. I think the action they're taking in dealing with that problem is not great. And if your options are, Geert Wilders' kind of anti-immigration stance, and he's also welfare status, borderline socialist, and your alternative is the kind of people we see here, dressing like terrorists, attacking the police and shouting, "Shame on you." It looks bad, but look, England is worse. England is worse, and is worse politically as well. France is also worse, which is why I wonder what we're going to see later today. PC, thank you for another super chat. PC says flag of Fakestein. And thank you, Jonathan, for super chat. Jonathan says, fuck these protesters. Rand wrote explicitly that there is no right to clog the public streets. Yeah, but that is not, I don't know if that's even clogging the streets. It could be in Dam Square. That's usually where it happens. So you're not clogging a street. But you are advocating for terrorists. And by the way, it'll be nice to see all these countries put not just Hamas, but the PLO designated as terrorist organizations. And then you can say this flag is not a flag you can wave because you are waving the flag of enemies who want to destroy this country, as well as they're Israel is more urgent for them, but they are an enemy of ours as well. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says it's dangerous to show Jewish symbols now. It absolutely is, and yeah, Daniel, I wouldn't martyr myself in that way. You are doing far more important work on ARCUK, promoting these ideas, than you would be just showing an Israeli flag, which is not an argument. So yeah, I'd really strongly consider that. And if
Well,
not, if
says a
anybody wants
man
to
who,
apply for a job as a producer in case something happens to Daniel, yeah, continue.
yeah, says a man who took me on a walk when he had the Maccabi scarf when we were almost next to one of the biggest mosques. No, it wasn't far away in Europe.
What was that?
You,
When?
we, uh, I think it was this May. You took a scarf and we went actually walking on the streets. You were not afraid because there was like six of us there, but I was afraid. Um, but that's
Was
for
this after Maccabi won the championship?
probably.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so Jonathan mentioned earlier about this right to protest, and also when I said earlier, I was saying like right to protest because yeah, it is like a concept that has been like used so improperly. Like if you are on your property, if you want to put up PLO flags, if you want to well maybe not specifically advocate for support of terrorist organizations, that there might be some potential problem there, but if you want to just do some protest on your property, it's your property, you can do whatever you want, almost whatever you want. Yeah, when it comes to these public streets, that there becomes a problem of this public property, or the idea of public property, that it's basically owned by everyone. And if it's owned by everyone, then you have to allow the pro-terrorist people to go on and advocate for actual terrorism. You have to allow Nazis to go on the streets and do the same thing, or it's otherwise you're discriminating. So yeah, this is just real problem. And just do you want to go to Paris actually? Well, I mean the video, because I have a point to make there.
Sure.
So I think we have two of them. So let's play this one. So yeah, this is from yesterday. Basically, there are protests around the around Paris because of because of the Israeli match. And when you read about how they are setting up the stadium, as you've said, I think I've read that only 13,000 spectators are going to be allowed instead of the full capacity, which is like 80,000. There are setting up basically barriers around the stadium. Police is getting ready. And if you heard me just say that, you would think this is like some like mock trial of some like civil rights protesters, and people really wanna like support him. But it's a football match, and just because it's Israel, it's just because it's Israel, people are actually like full on rioting. Something like this really shouldn't be happening in, again, like Western countries, where it should be clear that Israel is in the right, and support for terrorist groups shouldn't be applauded. um yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, in Paris, look, if it's 13,000 people allowed in the stadium, and there's 4,000 cops, and then what, 1,600 security as well, uh, that shows that they realize there's going to be an issue, and it also so as far as I'm concerned, that paints them in a bad light because much like Amsterdam, they're going on the defensive. They know there's an issue. They know who the people who are an issue are. It is first and foremost the pro-Palestinian movement. Wherever you can find any elements of it, it makes perfect sense to look into it. If people say the Jews should be exterminated, check if they are planning to be involved in the extermination efforts themselves. And beyond that, yes, you should look into Muslim communities. No, not all Muslims are terrorists, but yes, that is where terrorism, by and large, comes from, and it is a serious problem. And definitely looking into different communities, some of them are more likely to be a problem than others. Uh, that is something that authorities should be doing. Now, um, okay, if you have anything else, do you have anything else to add on Paris? Because I wanted to go to London quickly. Um,
Well, just I want to read a super chat from PC. Thank you so much. Who says France will be a Muslim nation within 30 years? Uh, I think there. I like to believe that eventually there will be some pushback, and I don't mean, just like drag all the Muslims on the streets and start like getting rid of them or something like that, but like actually enforcing laws and not allowing, yeah, enforcing laws. That's basically all I'm asking for. And yeah, not allowing this like riots go crazy.
Yeah, and Paul says in the chat to Daniel, but I'm going to do it. Remind everyone to click the like button. 108 watching, but only 18 likes. Well, I see more than 18 likes, but yeah, sometimes you have to refresh it, but it's definitely uh, not enough. Yeah, people should watch our content more. I think, are a good alternative to what is going on in the culture, and probably our only hope, maybe even more so in London. So Francesca Albanese, our pro-jihadist friend from the UN, is or was in London giving some talks. One of them was at St. Mary University in East London, and the campaign against anti-Semitism was planning to protest there because, they're against anti-Semitism, so it makes sense for them to protest against anti-Semites. This was going to take place a couple days ago, and on residence forums of the borough of Tower Hamlets, where St. Mary University is, people were talking about, I can't wait to welcome them Amsterdam style, like people on a residence forum, not on a officially pro-Hamas forum, although if you know Tower Hamlets, it's pretty much the same thing. We're talking about how they are going to do a pogrom to people protesting against anti-Semitism when an anti-Semite is speaking. So, and the fact that this was canceled rather than the police going to those people saying, we believe you and we are going to make sure that you can't do this. If you are a citizen, here's some prison time for threatening attempted murder. If you're not a citizen, here's a rhapsody and sail off. We don't see that. We don't see we see the police knocking on door of a Telegraph reporter because she tweeted something without telling her what it was she tweeted and only telling her that it was a year ago. That is what the police is doing. It is going after people who express views, seemingly views that are not in line with the current leadership, and not doing anything to prevent anti-Semitic violence, violence against Jews for being Jews. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, from a certain perspective, I understand, the police wants to have as little problems happening as possible. And if it means, canceling or basically not trying to protect the Jewish protests, that's the thing they will take. But that's again, that's not sustainable. You can have like a society where a certain amount of people are supposed to just stay at home and don't come out and let the other side basically advocate for killing them, and just expect that this will calm down, this will not this will just end at some point. No, and this would probably be dangerous. This is what happens when you basically give up on the responsibility of what it actually means to protect individual rights and to govern. When you stop enforcing the law, when you start allowing this to happen, it will go on and on. And the only way to basically get out of this is, yeah, have some allow some this is not even something unique. Like, let people who actually want to protest, and do what the government is supposed to do, protect their rights, and make sure nothing happens. And if other people come there because they see Jews on the streets and they come and start doing problems, then you arrest them, and if needed, you throw them into prison. You can, like, that's the only way. It's pretty much similar to what Israel needs to do when it comes to Gaza or Lebanon. You can't just have like a civilized society when you refuse to actually recognize that these people are actually trying to destroy you. And yeah, there is simply no other way around it.
Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, I do not believe Muhammad existed anymore, but whoever created Islam did it to conquer lands. I don't know if there's any reason to doubt whether or not he existed, but what I do know is that it doesn't actually matter today. I mean, what matters is the ideas are there, and for better or worse, what matters is the ideas and how people take them. And with Islam, people take it much more seriously, on average, than people take Judaism or Christianity. They take it there are plenty of Muslims out there who are living like Muhammad. And that's what should scare us, living like Muhammad or want to live like Muhammad. And the fact that the story, whether or not true, is inspiring to people to be like that person, that is what we should fear. And something else we should fear is the general rise of such ideas, not just among Muslims. So Dan
Before you go
Bilzerian,
there, I just want to quickly comment. Zara in the chat says no room in British prisons. I don't care. Privatize the NHS. Like, the one thing government is supposed to do is protect individual rights, and among those things are, police, army, a prison system, judicial system. That's not something you can just say, oh well, we don't want to do that. That's the only reason the government should exist, to actually uh, have objective rights and enforce them.
yeah. So Dan Bilzerian was on Piers Morgan. He's going to be the topic of the reality show. It was long. There's a lot to talk about. Somebody in the chat says, "Fucking hell, could you be more racist?" It's not Chandler, by the way, who's saying that. It's some guy. Yeah, that's the only Friends reference I'm ever going to make on this show ever. All right. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks everybody for watching. After that, we really need to wrap it up and go to the reality show, which starts in a couple of minutes.